It was a busy Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago, and the lobby of Midwest Trust Bank hummed with activity. Customers moved in and out, bank tellers assisted clients with brisk efficiency, and the polished floors reflected the bright overhead lights. James Carter, a black man in his early 40s, entered the bank dressed in smart casual attire, carrying a leather briefcase and a sense of quiet confidence. James was a seasoned entrepreneur who had recently acquired several commercial properties, including the very building housing the bank. Despite his significant accomplishments, he preferred to maintain a low profile during personal errands, observing the world around him with calm awareness. As James approached the reception desk to discuss a routine banking matter, the bank manager, Susan Whitaker, a middle-aged white woman known for her rigid demeanor, noticed him. She frowned and stepped forward with an air of authority that immediately carried tension. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You don't seem like the type of client we serve here," she said, her tone dripping with condescension and prejudice. James, taken slightly aback by the audacity of the comment, paused and fixed her with a calm, steady gaze. His expression was composed, his posture unshaken, reflecting decades of experience navigating challenges with grace and authority. "Excuse me," James said evenly, setting his briefcase on the desk. His voice was measured, authoritative, but without aggression. Susan crossed her arms and repeated her demand, insisting he leave immediately. Customers nearby began to notice the tension, whispering among themselves and glancing nervously at the interaction. James, maintaining his composure, reached into his briefcase and calmly produced the official documents proving his ownership of the building. "I believe you'll want to see this," he said quietly, placing the papers on the counter. Susan's expression shifted instantly. Her smirk of superiority vanished, replaced by shock, disbelief, and a dawning awareness of the situation. The power dynamic in the room reversed completely in an instant. Customers turned to observe, some whispering in astonishment, others silently nodding in recognition of the dramatic reversal. James, calm and composed, waited patiently as Susan scanned the documents, realizing for the first time that the man she had tried to dismiss was, in fact, the owner of the very building that housed the bank. A hush fell over the lobby as Susan, now visibly flustered, stammered an apology, unable to reconcile her earlier behavior with the undeniable authority of the man before her. James nodded politely, his composure unwavering, and collected his documents. Customers watched quietly, sensing the lesson unfolding before them. Assumptions, prejudice, and casual dismissal can be shattered instantly by experience, status, and quiet authority. James turned and walked calmly toward the exit, leaving behind stunned patrons and a manager humbled by her own misjudgment. By the time James exited into the sunlight of the city street, the atmosphere in the bank had shifted dramatically. Staff and customers alike had witnessed a lesson in humility, respect, and the power of earned authority. His quiet composure, coupled with the undeniable proof of his accomplishments, had transformed what could have been a tense confrontation into a vivid demonstration of the consequences of underestimating someone based on appearances alone. The morning after the confrontation, James Carter arrived at the bank early, not to revisit the incident, but to oversee ongoing property matters and ensure his assets were being managed properly. The city streets were bustling with activity, the hum of traffic and chatter blending into the usual rhythm of downtown Chicago. James moved with calm authority, briefcase in hand, his demeanor composed and measured. Though the previous day's incident had been brief, it lingered in his mind not with anger, but as a reminder of how quickly assumptions and prejudice can cloud judgment. Inside the bank, staff and patrons were already aware of the reversal of events, some still murmuring quietly among themselves about the audacity and composure with which James had handled the situation. James approached the front desk with measured steps, greeting a few familiar employees politely while maintaining a calm, confident posture. He began reviewing documents regarding property management, rental agreements, and the bank's lease, ensuring that every detail was in order. His presence was subtle but commanding, the kind of quiet authority that did not need to be announced, but was immediately recognized by those around him. Staff who had witnessed the previous day's incident moved efficiently to assist him, their prior whispers replaced with professional attentiveness and respect. Throughout the morning, James handled calls, corresponded with tenants, and addressed minor operational issues with a calm precision that underscored his experience and competence. Every action reflected the careful thought and strategic planning that had guided his career, demonstrating the difference between superficial appearances and genuine capability. Observers noted how effortlessly he navigated potentially complex scenarios, resolving matters with grace and authority, reinforcing the lesson that true respect is earned through consistent demonstration of skill, composure, and professionalism, rather than through title alone. By mid-afternoon, James stepped out briefly to inspect the building and meet with a few tenants regarding renovations and scheduling updates. He moved through the lobby, acknowledging staff with polite nods and brief smiles, the atmosphere now entirely transformed from the tension of the previous day. His presence commanded quiet attention and respect. No words were needed to communicate the authority and competence that he carried. Even Clara Reynolds, the bank manager who had previously demanded he leave, approached him with a measured professionalism, aware that her prior assumptions had been entirely mistaken. As the day drew to a close, James returned to his office space, reviewing notes and preparing for the next day's responsibilities. The city streets outside glimmered with the fading sunlight, reflecting the same calm, assured composure he maintained throughout his work. The previous day's incident at the bank remained a subtle but powerful reminder of the lessons inherent in human assumptions and judgments. Respect is immediate when it is backed by competence, composure, and earned authority. James moved with quiet confidence, fully aware that his actions and demeanor had left lasting impressions on everyone who had witnessed them, shaping both perceptions and interactions with subtle but undeniable influence. By midweek, James Carter's presence in the bank and his role as the building owner had become quietly acknowledged by both staff and regular patrons. The story of the previous confrontation had spread discreetly, serving as a lesson in humility and the dangers of judging based on appearances. James moved through the lobby with calm authority, interacting politely with staff and tenants, while reviewing documents related to property management and lease agreements. His composure and steady demeanor drew attention naturally, without any need to assert dominance or demand respect. Observers could not help but notice the effortless confidence in his movements, the clarity in his speech, and the quiet assurance that accompanied every action he took. Throughout the morning, James addressed operational matters with meticulous attention to detail. He clarified schedules, responded to inquiries, and coordinated with tenants and bank staff efficiently, maintaining a tone of polite authority. Employees who had been unsure of their roles in the previous day's tense encounter now treated him with professional attentiveness and respect, recognizing the weight of his position and the decisiveness of his actions. Even casual visitors seemed to sense the shift, noting that his presence carried a calm but unmistakable authority. Later in the afternoon, James met with a few tenants to discuss upcoming renovations and adjustments to the building's facilities. He listened carefully, responding thoughtfully and with precision, ensuring that all decisions were fair and well considered. Every interaction reinforced the lesson that true authority is not about intimidation or aggression, but about competence, composure, and consistent demonstration of skill. The contrast between the bank manager's earlier arrogance and James's quiet professionalism was unmistakable to anyone paying attention. By evening, James walked through the building one last time, checking on offices and confirming that operational matters were in order. The sun had begun to set over the city, casting long shadows across the polished floors and glass windows. Patrons and staff paused briefly, acknowledging his presence with nods or polite greetings, an unspoken recognition of the respect he had earned. James reflected on the week's events, aware that even a single encounter, one in which assumptions and prejudice had initially clouded judgment, could reinforce powerful lessons about authority, professionalism, and human perception. As he stepped outside into the fading light, briefcase in hand, he moved with calm assurance, fully conscious of the impression his composure and earned authority had left on everyone who had witnessed him. By the following morning, James Carter had returned to the bank, not out of any desire to revisit the previous incident, but to ensure that operations and tenants were running smoothly. The city streets were alive with activity, cars and buses weaving through traffic, pedestrians bustling along the sidewalks. Yet James moved through it all with calm confidence, his demeanor composed and assured. Inside the bank, the atmosphere had shifted entirely. Staff and regular customers now treated him with respect and attentiveness, aware of his ownership and the quiet authority he carried. Even those who had been unaware of his role before now recognized that his presence demanded acknowledgement. Throughout the morning, James reviewed lease agreements, handled correspondence, and addressed tenant inquiries with meticulous precision. His interactions were measured, polite, and authoritative, reflecting years of experience in business and property management. Staff and tenants alike deferred to his judgment, understanding that his decisions were grounded in competence and careful consideration. The previous incident with the bank manager, though brief, had become a subtle touchstone, a reminder that assumptions, prejudice, and casual arrogance are powerless against someone whose authority is backed by skill, experience, and composure. Later in the afternoon, James conducted meetings with contractors and maintenance staff regarding upcoming renovations. He listened carefully, provided clear guidance, and ensured that all work plans aligned with both efficiency and quality standards. Every word and gesture reinforced the calm authority he carried, demonstrating that leadership is communicated through actions and consistency rather than confrontation or ego. Staff members who had witnessed the bank manager's initial behavior were now fully aware of the contrast between arrogance and genuine authority. Their respect for James evident in their attentive posture and willingness to follow his direction. By evening, James walked through the lobby and offices one final time before departing, ensuring that everything was in order. The sun cast a warm glow through the large windows, reflecting off polished floors and glass surfaces. Patrons and tenants paused to acknowledge his presence, some with polite nods, others with quiet smiles, recognizing the calm assurance and professionalism he embodied. James stepped outside into the city streets, briefcase in hand, reflecting on the events of the week. He understood that the incident with the bank manager had been more than a personal encounter. It had demonstrated the enduring power of competence, composure, and earned authority, leaving a lasting impression on everyone who had witnessed it. By midweek, James Carter's presence and authority within the bank had become fully recognized by staff, tenants, and even casual patrons. The story of the previous incident with the bank manager had quietly circulated, reinforcing lessons about humility, assumptions, and earned respect. James moved through the lobby with calm assurance, reviewing lease documents, addressing tenant concerns, and coordinating operational matters with meticulous attention. His composure and steady demeanor drew attention naturally, without the need for ostentation, demonstrating that true authority is evident in action and decision-making rather than in displays of dominance. Throughout the morning, James handled routine inquiries and administrative responsibilities with the same focus and precision that had characterized his approach for years. Staff members who had witnessed the bank manager's initial arrogance now responded with professional attentiveness, recognizing that his calm, competent authority demanded acknowledgement. Even casual visitors seemed to sense the subtle power dynamic at play, noting that appearances and assumptions were not reliable measures of a person's capabilities. Every interaction reinforced the lesson that respect is earned through consistent performance, competence, and composure. Later in the afternoon, James met with building contractors to finalize plans for renovations, providing guidance and ensuring that every detail adhered to his high standards. He communicated with clarity and precision, his calm authority evident in the way he listened, responded, and made decisions. Even casual observers could see the contrast between someone relying on superficial confidence and someone whose authority was grounded in skill, experience, and measured action. The bank manager, if present, would have recognized the sharp difference between arrogance and earned respect, and the lesson of the previous encounter was quietly cemented for all who had witnessed it. By evening, James completed his daily review of documents and tenant concerns, walking through the lobby one last time before departing. The city streets glowed with the warm reflection of sunset, and his briefcase in hand, he moved with calm assurance. Patrons, staff, and tenants acknowledged him with polite nods and subtle smiles, an unspoken recognition of the authority and composure he consistently displayed. James reflected on the week's events, understanding that every interaction, every decision, and every display of measured professionalism reinforced his credibility and influence. The incident with the bank manager had served as a pivotal moment, illustrating that assumptions can be shattered instantly when met with competence, composure, and earned authority, leaving lasting impressions on all who witnessed it. By the following week, James Carter's authority and presence within the bank and its surrounding community had become firmly established. Staff, tenants, and regular patrons moved through the lobby and offices with a subtle attentiveness, fully aware of the calm, composed, and capable figure who now subtly guided operations and decisions. The story of the bank manager's earlier arrogance and the instantaneous reversal upon discovering James's ownership had quietly circulated, serving as a reminder of the power of competence, composure, and earned authority. James navigated each interaction with measured poise, his presence alone reinforcing the respect he commanded, and his calm demeanor set the tone for every encounter. Throughout the morning, James addressed tenant concerns, coordinated with building staff, and reviewed ongoing operational matters, all with precise and deliberate attention. His interactions were polite, professional, and authoritative, emphasizing that true respect is earned through consistent competence and measured action rather than through displays of status or aggression. Employees and visitors who had witnessed the previous day's events now engaged with him with attentiveness and deference, aware that his calm composure and clear decision-making were hallmarks of a competent and respected leader. Later in the afternoon, James met with contractors and vendors to finalize details for ongoing renovations, providing guidance and making adjustments as necessary. His manner remained composed and deliberate, reflecting years of experience managing complex projects and negotiations. Observers noted the effortless confidence and authority he projected, contrasting sharply with superficial arrogance or assumptions that might have prevailed in less informed judgments. Every instruction, every gesture, and every decision subtly reinforced his influence, demonstrating the lasting impact of professionalism, skill, and earned credibility. By evening, James conducted a final walkthrough of the building before departing, ensuring that all tasks and operations were proceeding smoothly. The warm glow of sunset reflected off the polished floors and glass windows, and tenants and staff offered polite nods of acknowledgement as he passed. James reflected on the events of the past week, understanding that even brief incidents, like the confrontation with the bank manager, can serve as powerful lessons in perception, respect, and authority. As he stepped outside into the city streets, briefcase in hand, he moved with calm assurance, fully aware that his actions, demeanor, and consistent professionalism had left a lasting impression on all who had witnessed him, reinforcing the enduring value of earned respect and quiet authority. By the end of the week, James Carter had fully established his authority and influence within the bank and the broader downtown community. His calm composure, competence, and measured professionalism had left an indelible impression on staff, tenants, and patrons alike. The story of the bank manager's earlier arrogance and the instant reversal upon discovering James's ownership had circulated quietly, serving as a lesson in humility, perception, and the consequences of assumptions. Every interaction James engaged in, whether routine or complex, reinforced his credibility and quiet authority, demonstrating that respect is earned through action, skill, and composure, rather than through superficial judgments or displays of dominance. Throughout the day, James oversaw operations, reviewed documents, coordinated with tenants and contractors, and addressed staff inquiries with clarity, precision, and calm confidence. His presence alone conveyed authority, subtly shaping the environment and influencing the behavior of those around him. Even casual observers could sense the difference between those relying on arrogance or assumptions and someone whose authority was grounded in experience, competence, and unwavering composure. The bank manager, if she had witnessed his conduct throughout the week, would have fully understood the extent of the lesson she had learned so abruptly the day she tried to dismiss him. By evening, James completed his final review of ongoing matters and prepared to leave the building. The city streets were bathed in the warm glow of sunset, and he moved with deliberate, assured steps, briefcase in hand. Patrons and tenants paused to acknowledge his presence, some with polite nods, others with subtle smiles, recognizing the authority and competence he consistently demonstrated. James reflected on the week's events, aware that his calm demeanor, professionalism, and earned authority had left lasting impressions on everyone who had witnessed him. The brief confrontation with the bank manager had become more than a single incident. It had illustrated a universal truth. True respect is immediate and enduring when backed by skill, composure, and consistent, competent action. As he stepped into the city streets, James carried the quiet satisfaction of knowing that his presence and conduct had not only commanded recognition, but had subtly transformed perceptions, leaving a lasting legacy of dignity, professionalism, and earned authority.